welcome to Trading Without Fear. This episode is the $130 challenge the week from the 7th through the 11th and a recap of the trades that I took. So with the small account, I'm having to be really cautious about the type of trades that I'm taking and a little bit of limited based off of how many number of trades I can take at this moment with how small the account it is. So this week, I only took 2 trades. So let's go ahead and jump right into them. So BBIG was last week's trade, and one of the reasons why I wanted to recap this trade was my thought process on it, what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong. And I entered in the stock at $4.04, and I took off the 15% pretty quickly on the first day at $4.65. I was looking for a 30% price target at $5.26, and on the first day it got 2 cents away. So right here is where I was trying to get my next price, was right here, and I ended up getting really close on that day, 2 cents away, and I pulled right back, and you can see it dip down and just kept going. And you can see here that it was kind of making a higher low, a higher low. This one right here was still holding on support, and it's still a higher low compared to this day. And so it was kind of just slowly grinding upwards. And on this day right here, I was already holding on for a little while, and I was not really concerned that it wasn't going to reach my price target. I could see the uptrending chart right here, but what I was more like was bored of the trade. It was kind of working out, but I was like, okay, well, I'm starting to see other things that's in the market that was running a little bit better. And ultimately, it did actually reach my price target right here on the day. If it didn't get me out as soon as the market opened, it would have got me out right here for 30% gain. So I ended up taking on my first trade was a 14.87%, so 15% pretty much. And then on the next trade, I ended up taking a 10.92%, so $7.50. If I would have waited for the trade to actually reach my price target, I would have ended up taking a little bit more money off the table. I would have taken $20 off that trade just for that small amount there. Total would have been like just under $30 if I would have waited for that on a small $130 account, which would have been great. So the trade that I cut BBIG and got into was CLOVW. And when I first saw it, I didn't see anything other than about this much of a trade. And when I was looking at it, it looked really nice and clean. I noticed that on the daily chart that it had a nice breakout over 495 on the first day, had a nice gap up in the morning to about $6, and then it kept running all the way up to almost $14 on the day. And so when I was looking at it, I started seeing this downward trend, and while I was still in BBIG and it was working out really nicely, I was thinking to myself that this CLOVW had a greater chance of reaching the $30 price target that I was looking at. So when I noticed it starting to come down around the support level right around here, and kind of held that support around the 862, I ended up buying my first lot at $9. I went in with a small partial position. The reason why I first got into it with half size was because I was still in BBIG, and because I was able to take 15% off the market the first time, I had like $75 worth of the trade. So I got 8 shares at $9. And when it started coming back down, I recognized that I ended up getting into it too early, and CLOVW follows CLOV. And so the chart pattern that they were doing both in the day was identical. And so this one started doing the same downwards trend, kind of held here. And right here, when I was holding that trend, is the same trend that, or the same type of pattern that CLOVW was doing. This one has much greater moves as far as the price dollar, from 22 all the way down to 16.73. But it has too much volatility on it. So at the time, CLOVW was also a much bigger gainer on the day. It was like a couple 100%. So what I was looking at was first buying this little dip, and when I recognized that on the other chart on CLOV, it was kind of consolidating around the same area, which is right around here. Once it started coming down and reaching my sell target, I ended up pulling my stops, which for myself is kind of a trading error. I shouldn't be pulling my stops out of the market. I kind of made an exception with this one because I recognized I bought it in too high. What I ended up doing was leave my sell targets up there. And when I recognized that it was still coming down and it was following the CLOVW, I was like, okay, well, I think this is going to end up having a bottom, and where that bottom's at is going to end up reversing from that part, and that's going to be pretty much the low of the day. And so when it started creating this bottom down here, and it was kind of matching up with this over here to the left side, I was thinking that this would be a good entry. So I ended up taking a BBIG off the table, sold it, took my profit on that one, and ended up using the rest of the funds to buy into this one. So I got an additional 11 shares at $6.93, and I had my stop down here right below this green candle right here. So my stops were down here, and I did the same thing when I averaged into the trade. I ended up having 15%, which was right here around VWAP, and it didn't take very much longer, and I ended up getting 15%. And my thought process on this was, if I entered in down here, and even if it came up close to this entry, by taking something off the table, if it did come back down, what I'll end up doing is putting back on my stops onto the trade, and that way I'd either end up break even or walk away with a very small loss. So what ended up happening is on this one, I ended up getting 15% out of that trade right here, and then I ended up getting another 30% right here. And so that got me out. I ended up putting my stop loss for these 9 shares. Once it ended up breaking above VWAP and holding there and consolidating for a little while, I ended up putting my stop loss up here just below the 850 mark once it had this nice clean breakout. And it kind of just consolidated and stayed above the 850 mark the entire day, and it just kind of went up a little bit more. And this part right here is the 15% from this first initial buy at $9. So already right here, I was ended up taking quite a decent amount off the market with a very small position size. I scaled out. My first trade was $5.40. My second trade was $5.20, and the third lot was $10.80. So that's not too bad scaling out of that trade. And what ended up happening is it kind of just went sideways all day. It kept coming down, got pretty close to where my exit was going to be at, and I figured, if it does come down to my 950s sell price target, then what ended up happening was I'll lose like $1.99, $2 off that single trade, and I'll still be walking away with I think it was like a $26 profit. As it started ramping up into the close, I ended up changing my sell order type from a go till canceled day to a go till canceled exit at the same price target that I was looking to get, which was 1170. And even though it kind of dipped down, I was thinking I'm going to still watch it, make sure that it doesn't violate my risk of $9.50. And as long as it stays basically where my mental OCO brackets would be, I'm okay by holding on to it and see what happens either later on and in after hours or the next day. And right before market close at probably about 6 o'clock, it ended up hitting my sell target, got me out of the trade, went as high as like $12.04. The next day went as high as $17.50. And as soon as market opened, it just completely tanked and just kept going down from there. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this trade. If you look at it from the big picture view, from how I ended up getting in and scaling out of the trade, with a very small account, taking $33.88 overall in the trade, I think I went into the trade with a total of, let's do the math here. So my first buy was 8 shares at $9, so that's $72. So I ended up entering this trade first with $72 and then an additional $76.23 on this one right here. So that's a total position size of $148.23. And making it $33.88 by scaling out of this trade was a really nice trade for myself. I'm pretty proud of how I actually handled it and how the OCO orders really worked and how I used the OCO orders to or the bracket orders to scale into the trade to try to maximize I'm pretty proud of how that one was going. So right now, the other trade that I'm currently in is MIBS. Now this trade, it was kind of complicated to actually trade it a little bit. There was a little bit of so this trade right here is a little bit complicated to trade. I had a nice clean breakout over the 23s, which is what I was looking at, and I ended up buying a little bit higher. I saw its consolidation here, and I first wanted to get in around the 23.25. Once it came down here, I didn't get a fill, so I ended up chasing a little bit and got a fill at 24.08. And I had my risk, if it violated, kind of broke down here, just calculate that. So my risk was down here about 3.5%. If it went down below 23.24. And when it started to break out up here, that was only like a 2% profit. And I thought, well, it's going to come back down and it's probably going to hold around the range that I'm seeing on the daily chart. And I think I just got in a little bit too early for the breakout. So what I ended up doing was noticing that it's kind of doing an uptrend. So if you look here on the daily down here, it had this nice breakout, tried to retest the 23s, pulled back, came back and kind of consolidated, made another low right here, made a high, and right here made another high low where it closed. And my trade plan on this one is to risk down here. It's a little bit of a wider risk than I normally would like to take, which is the 2060 is what I'm actually looking at risking. So if I ended up, if this does come down and actually goes through the support level of around the 2060 range, which is also over here, which is may act as a support level, then I'll end up taking a loss on this trade of $24.36, which will still be a profit of $9.52 on the week for the week from the 7th through the 11th. But what I'm looking at as a potential of trying to retest the 23s and reclaim the 23s, with this in my BS, they're going to be uplisting on the Russell 2000. I don't know if that's going to actually cause the move to do anything. I don't know if that's going to actually cause a stop to do anything. But my trade plan on that is to try to either hold it until it either works or it hits my risk level, and I'll be taking a little bit bigger of a loss than I normally would, which would be between $3 to $5 on a small account. But I think if that happens, I would be able to easily recover in like 1 or 2 trades, so it shouldn't be a big deal. That's pretty much it for this update on the $130 challenge. That's pretty much it for this video. If you like this content, subscribe to the channel. Look out for more episodes. Ring the bell so that we will be notified of new episodes that's coming out. And give me a big thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.